that live button to make sure that I remember to go live on Shorts. So, as always, I am live in two different formats. If you are happy and you love watching in the traditional format, you are already in the right spot if you are watching it and you see things on your TV or on your phone or what have you. But if you're on your phone and you love watching it in vertical format, you can see it also there on the Shorts live feed. So I got everybody covered. No stone unturned. No man left behind. I am all over y'all business up here on YouTube. So what's up, everybody? All right. So I haven't streamed since Friday. Yeah, Friday. Just not bad. I tried to stream, or I wanted to stream over the weekend, but if you saw my post on the channel, it just wasn't in the cards for me. I just ended up becoming way too busy, had way too many things to do, and too many distractions. So I think moving forward, I am going to adjust my streaming schedule so that it allows me more time to do things during the week, produce more long format content on the channel, because there are things I have in my mind I want to work on that I definitely want to do. So I will update everyone on the channel, whatever that final schedule would be like. Mondays are for sure, and Fridays are for sure. That's what I'll say right now, because I want to be able to talk about the weekend box office. And on Fridays, I usually like kind of recap what happened throughout the week. And Fridays are usually the days, or the mornings, I should say, where I review the latest movie that came out in theaters and all that. So, again, I thank everyone for their patience. I know the schedule has been like kind of all over the place. You know, it is what it is, but it will get better. As time goes on, it will get better. As things on my other side of my world, as soon as they clear up, things will definitely get much better. I guarantee and promise everyone that. So, how's everyone doing? If you're watching on Shorts too, would greatly appreciate if you hit that like button. That'll be awesome. If you want to do something nice on this Memorial Day weekend, do it. Be nice. Be kind. Rewind. Hit that like button. So, what's up? Oz Green in the hizzy. All that streaming, that's right. All up in your ears. Doing it and doing it well. At least I hope I'm doing it well. But love to hear how everyone's doing, how everyone's weekend was. I already said my weekend was kind of all over the place and busy. Just a lot of, some of it had to do with work, my work outside of this work. You know, a lot of it had to do with more personal things. A lot of it had to do with chores and all of that fun stuff. Adulting. It's all adulting goodness. That's what I'll say. Got to play some games. Let's see. What did I play this over the weekend? Just a lot of random stuff. You know, like I've already talked about it here on the channel, where my main game that I play with my friends every week is Helldivers 2. But every now and then, I kind of want to mix it up. You know, it doesn't always have to be that. You know, because I feel like the more and more you play of one thing over and over again, the quicker you get tired of it. You know, at least for me. So I'm trying to find whatever other game there is like that. And me and my other friend, we've been kind of just testing the waters as to what games are out there that we can do that with. And you know, I tried a little bit of Diablo 4, played a little bit of a Warhammer game. Forgot the name of it. There's so many of them out there. Aliens Fireteam Elite. That's another one that I've had for so long, but never had a chance to play online with anybody. Because I love the Alien franchise. And that one was okay. But it's not one of those things that you could sit down and play for a very long time. It's nice in little spurts. You know, like all right, this is the warm up for the rest of the evening as to whatever it is we play. Yeah. So I think the hunt continues as to whatever that other alternate game would be. Still trying to freaking finish that Persona 3 reload. I'm telling you. I last time I checked, I'm already 250 hours in on that fucking game. And the game just doesn't want to end. It just keeps going and going and going. Even though there are parts of it that I can no longer improve on. You know, social links, all that shit. If you play the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But there's just so many things that I can no longer improve on. And I just kind of want to get through everything. And I'm not the kind of guy who rushes through games. You know, I want to understand the story. I want to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. You know, and a lot of people can just breeze through the story and just wait. I just want to fight, or I just want to shoot things, or I just want to, you know, cast spells on people. You know, and that's fine. But I need a reason as to why I'm doing it. You know, what's the story behind it? You know, what's making my character? What's the motivation? Right. So of course I'm going to pay attention to a lot of things, and that could be one of the reasons why a game like Persona 3 Reload will take a long time for someone like me. Because I have one friend who told me they beat Persona 3 in 80 hours. I guess I could see how you could do that, but personally I don't know how. For me, it just sounds like they just breeze through the story, you know. And I'm sure if I were to like sit down with them right now and say, all right, tell me what the whole story is about. Why are you doing what you're doing? It's quite possible that I'll get maybe a half-assed answer. Maybe. I don't know. Everyone's different in how they play things. I didn't watch any new movie since Thursday with Furiosa. I needed a break since the whole week I basically just binged and rewatched all the Mad Max movies. So I needed a little break before that. So I didn't watch anything new, I would say. I watched a lot of YouTube stuff. I guess I was catching up on YouTube videos for the most part. You know, things that some of the channels that I follow that they release and all. So nothing too crazy there. But yeah, if you have any interesting stories you'd like to share about your weekend, I know I don't think RIP is here right now. I know he went to a NASCAR race yesterday, from what I remember. Starlord, I don't know if you had any specific plans for the weekend. I don't remember you saying anything. I know a lot of people were using this time to just relax. And there were some of you who are looking to catch up on some movies too. So, oh, there you go, Starlord. I was watching YouTube movies. Okay. Anything worth mentioning? Were they legit movies or like fan movies, like fan-made movies? I'm just curious. I'm sure Star Wars will let me know in a little bit. But I guess movies is going to be the main topic of this morning, this afternoon. Because things aren't looking that great, that hot for the box office right now. And I kind of hinted on it on Friday, the last time I was live, where this summer is not looking so good as far as movies are concerned. And I did a little bit of digging over the weekend. And this could quite possibly be one of the worst summers in movies that we have gotten in a very long time. Very, very long time. And I'm not talking so much about quality. I'm talking about potential revenue. Or maybe in this case, lack thereof, right? So we'll be talking a lot about that stuff this morning. Starlord, Richie Rich and Kazam. The Shaq joint, Kazam. Richie Rich, who was in that movie? I can't For the life of me, I can't even recall who was in that movie. Kazam, that was a movie I did my best to avoid as much as possible growing up. I was like, I knew there was just all sorts of bad things about that movie. Yeah, that was definitely around the time when Shaq was trying. You could tell he was already going to be involved in a lot of things outside of basketball. And we kind of see that now, where he's like in every other commercial that you see on TV. But back then, he was doing movies, he was rapping, right, with the Fushnikins. He was dancing with the Jabberwockies. Um, yeah, he was definitely doing a whole lot of stuff outside of basketball. He had a video game, Shaq Fu, one of the quite possibly one of the worst games ever made. But it's funny because I think it was in 2020. It was either 2019 or 2020, maybe 2021. I don't know. It was around that time when they released a remaster of Shaq Fu, and I played it on PC. And I guess knowing what I was going to get myself into, I didn't mind it so much. You know, I didn't think it was terrible. It's not great, but I didn't mind it so much playing it back then when I tried it. And then there was again alternate mode where you could play Barack Obama. So basically, it was like Barack Obama as in kind of like a Shaq Fu type of platform action adventure. And that in itself was actually pretty funny. Oh, Macaulay Culkin was Richie Rich. Oh, man. That's crazy. What a weird time. You know, because Richie Rich, I mean, that was like a property from a long time ago. I believe started off as a comic book. And then, of course, they did like cartoons. That's how I was made aware of Richie Rich. Because wasn't Richie Rich kind of a spin-off of the Archie comics, I think, I want to say? Or at least they were made by the same company that did the Archie books. I don't really remember. But, yeah, interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. I hope you enjoyed them. Or at least you got some entertainment out of them. All right. Why don't we talk about some of the hot topics? Some hot topics. Talk about this morning. And why not? Let's just dive in. Let's rip the Band-Aid off everything. And let's talk about the weekend box office. So this is a part of the stream on Monday mornings where I talk about the weekend box office and how great or how abysmal it's been. Weekend box office. Breaking down the weekend. Box office movies. Nothing else is going on because everyone is not going to the movies. That's right. For a holiday weekend, especially when you have big titles like Furiosa, it's kind of crazy how very little money this movie made over the weekend. I will say I am honestly kind of surprised by it because, granted, Fury Road, when it came out in 2015, it came in second. That was my I mentioned this already on Friday. That was my trivia question for the week last week. It was beat out by Pitch Perfect 2, which made like 60, 70 million, I think, opening weekend. And Fury Road made like around 40, I believe, domestically. This is all domestic numbers. So I thought at the very least, Furiosa was going to come in around that same amount. With no real other competition, I thought it would do better. I thought it was going to do like around 45, maybe even 50, right? But my gosh, it did with numbers that have just been updated as I refresh the page. 26.3 million. And this doesn't include like today's numbers, the numbers from Monday. And again, here in the US, it's a holiday. So Memorial Day weekend, if you're not familiar with Memorial Day weekend, if you're not here in the United States, Memorial Day weekend is the unofficial start of summer for us here. You have a lot of barbecues. You have people going to the beaches for the first time. You have people who are traveling on vacation, road trips, all that stuff. But Memorial Day weekend is usually one of the biggest weekends of the year for movies and box office revenue. And this weekend was challenging already as is, because as we've been seeing for the last couple of weeks or last several weeks in the month of May, movies that have been coming out have not been doing what a lot of people were expecting them to do. It started out with Fall Guy. That didn't lead to big numbers, and that was supposed to be the first movie that's to really kick off the summer movie season. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes did decently, and I think it still continues to do decently, if also didn't do as expected. Now, this weekend, what's going on, YouTube Shorts guy? Nice of you to chime in. Hope you're doing well. Star-Lord, after I watched and see reviews of those movies. I wish YouTube had more free movies, would hit up more classic Disney. Yeah, but it's Disney too. So you know they're not gonna, unless they like license them off to YouTube. They always love controlling their property. But I agree. It would be nice if YouTube had more free movies, like a Freevee, or like a, what is, Tubi is mostly free, right? And I don't know, Mubi also, I think. But from what I've seen, they do have a big selection of free movies on YouTube. You know, maybe just not the movies that you may be into, but they do have a free, like a big amount. But yeah, so this weekend you had two movies that are brand new that didn't really have a lot of crossover, because one was very family oriented, and that's the Garfield movie, a new animated Garfield movie with Chris Pratt voicing Garfield, which I don't care about. I mean, it is what it is. And then you had Furiosa, which is supposed to be the follow-up to Fury Road, but this is a prequel, right? We're going back to like the origins of Furiosa and the origins of a lot of people that we were introduced to in Fury Road. And for the most part, and again, I said this on Friday, I really enjoyed Furiosa. It's not as great as Fury Road, but I really enjoyed it. And what I've been seeing mostly online is that there have been a good amount of people who have enjoyed it. But I guess it didn't attract people to want to go see it for whatever bizarre reason. And we'll talk about what these reasons could be later on. But Furiosa, Mad Max Saga, came in first. Yes, that's great. But only at $26.3 million. Again, this is the 3-day gross numbers. Or I should say probably 4-day. No, 3-day. This is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Doesn't include today, which is a holiday here. So this could slightly go up a little bit more. But still, 26.3 million is abysmal for a holiday weekend. For a summer box office movie caliber type like this. This is insane that it came in this low. The budget on this movie, I believe, was around $163 million. And let's see, what is the, I wonder if they have the worldwide numbers updated. Okay, worldwide, 65.3 million for its opening weekend. Now, 65.3 million is what you would normally have expected this to kind of make on a domestic opening weekend, not worldwide. So this is really bad. Really, really bad. And if a movie like this cannot make 40 million domestically on its opening weekend, especially on a holiday weekend, the rest of the summer is going to be really terrible as far as revenue is concerned. The Garfield movie is in second with $24 million. 97.4 internet, like worldwide. So you have an animated movie about Garfield that's really aimed more towards families, doing much more money at the box office worldwide than Furiosa did. I mean, that is insane to me. That just doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense because, as we've seen with a lot of recent family films, they don't do that well anymore at the box office. Unless it's like a major franchise, like Despicable Me. I'm pretty sure when that movie comes out this summer that that's going to do decently at the box office. You know, maybe a Disney film, maybe a Pixar film, right? But Garfield, you know, I don't know how relevant Garfield is these days. You know, I don't, you know, there aren't newspapers really anymore that people read. So there's no Sunday paper where I'm reading Garfield strips. I don't, you know, buy the collection books like I used to back in the day. But that was mainly because at school we had book order, right? Again, I'm talking about if you went to school here in the United States, especially during my era, every semester or every year, there would be at least maybe once or twice a year where you would have book order, a scholastic book order or whatever. And what it is that they gave you this little catalog and you got to order some books from this company with it, you know, that's connected and tied with your school. And it'll get delivered a month later. And then all of a sudden you have this like big bag of books that you just ordered. And it was through that I used to always buy my Garfield book. Because every year there was a new Garfield collection that came out. And I always did that all the time. I don't know what it is like these days. I don't know if that still happens. There is no Garfield presence on television or cable. You know, growing up, we had Garfield and Friends. Every holiday, we had like a Garfield special on TV. So, and then we had, not that long ago, a Garfield CG type movie with Bill Murray as the voice of Garfield. Right? And I don't know if they did that well to warrant them exploring another Garfield movie, but they did. And internationally, it did so much better than Furiosa, which is crazy. Let's see, is Star-Lord chiming in here? I watch them on my TV, so I only have YouTube app on my Xbox. Isn't there a Tubi app for Xbox? Because I have one for my Xbox. Mario did better than 90s Mario. John Leguizamo hates it. Well, there's a lot of people that hate that movie. Even though there, in recent years, there's been kind of like a renaissance for that movie, where people are kind of re-exploring it for the either, you know, watching it again or coming across it for the first time, and they're trying so hard to talk good about that movie, but it's pretty painful. Michael Becker, thank you for chiming in. You're speaking German. I don't know what you're saying, but thank you. I hope you understand what I'm saying. But thank you for your chat. Thank you for chiming in. Going back to the charts here. So, I mean, he hates the new one. I don't know why he would. Did he give a reason? But coming in at third, you have If, that was number one last weekend, but dropping over 50% at 52% from last week, pulling in $16.1 million at the box office, 58.6 so far domestically. Internationally, bum ba da bum. Why did it give me Paramount Pictures? That's so weird. 103.5. That's decent for a movie like this. Personally, I never thought this movie was going to be big. at the box office. But I know Paramount was really hoping it was going to do gangbusters. Star-Lord, something about representation. It's a cartoon. It's an animated movie. I don't understand what he wants. I mean, did the game have representation? Think about it. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was 2 last weekend. Now 4th, dropping a 47% from the previous weekend. Only pulling in 13.4 million. I knew, and I was kind of afraid that this movie would not have enough legs to carry on. Internationally, so far, it's done almost 300 million. So not terrible. I think in hindsight, when you look at recent movies that came out, this would be considered to be a hit. Not a hit, but it would be considered that it did okay. You know, not like the other movies I've been talking about. Fall Guy dropped to 5th, 5.9 million. 72.2 million overall domestically. 145.5 million internationally. I mean, worldwide. But another thing that could be hitting and hurting this movie is that it's now available on demand. So if you don't want to go to the theater, you could actually buy this or rent it at a premium on demand at home. So that's definitely going to eat away at some of the box office there. The Strangers Chapter 1 from Lionsgate, 5.5 million, 21.2 million overall domestically. Internationally, 24 million. It's a horror movie. I'm sure it wasn't a high budget movie. I'm sure it'll probably do all right. Sight from Angel Studios. We have yet another faith-based movie here from Angel. They're doing a lot of these, and I would expect them to do a whole lot more moving forward. 2.7 million domestically. Challengers, Zendaya, dropped from 5th to 8th, 1.4 million. This is also another movie that now you can watch on demand from the comfort of your own home. So that's 8th. 9th place, you have Back to Black. That's the biopic of Amy Winehouse from Focus Features, 1 million. 4.8 million domestically. That's really bad. Really, really bad. And I think Focus was really hoping that this movie was going to do well. From what I heard, it did well internationally because it had to run internationally before it hit here in the States. So I think internationally, 30.4 million. So internationally, it did like 25.2 since it came out. For a movie like that, internationally, I think that's not that bad at all. Then rounding out the top 10, you have Babes from Neon, $1 million. $1 million! And there you have it. That is the box office. Outside, you have Taro, Godzilla. I saw the TV Glow. Godzilla is another movie you could already get on demand. Taro, I think you could get on demand this week. So yeah. So this is really sad. What a sad showing for the weekend box office. And it's I don't know what to say about it. There are multiple factors involved, I would say, that is leading to such horrible numbers here. You know. And what I'll say this. For someone who's seen Furiosa, I will say this is something that is definitely worth watching in the movie theater. I think a lot of people are probably waiting for it to hit streaming. You know, I saw just briefly, I saw that there was a video on YouTube from somebody, I forget who it was. And the headline of the video was Furiosa meant for streaming? I don't buy that. I don't agree with that one bit. Furiosa is the type of movie that you should be watching in the movie theater. With all the special effects and the sound. The sound is something that is fantastic. The soundtrack is pretty good. That is a movie-going experience. It's not meant for streaming. No way. I don't agree with that one bit. Now, if you were to ask the question, do people probably prefer to watch it on streaming over theaters? That may be very much the case. And, people are showing it with their wallets. They're not going to watch this movie right now. And I don't know what kind of legs this movie will have. Maybe word of mouth might spread in a positive way. Who knows? But I do feel like this movie is deserving of watching in the theater. That's why, for me, it's baffling how it's only made 26 million at the theater. So true. Many people said it's an anime, no big deal. Yeah. Again, going back to the whole Leguizamo hate towards the new Mario movie. I think Leguizamo, he's becoming like Chappelle, where he's getting older and he's becoming very curmudgeon. On Chappelle's end, you have him just going on stage to clap back at his people that talk against him. And then Leguizamo, I think he just, he talks about how he hates certain things, kind of like an old guy. It's funny what happens to people when they age, when they get older, or when fame takes over sometimes. But yeah. So one of the things is what's happening. This is one of the things I really wanted to talk about, is what's happening at the box office right now. Like, why are people not watching movies? Why are people not supporting movies? Why are these movies not doing as well as they are? And is there anything that can be done? Who knows, right? But there are many factors involved in why movies aren't doing so well right now. But one thing we should keep in mind too is that the box office has seen somewhat of a decline even before the pandemic started. Because I think one of the things that a lot of people have mentioned is that, well, it's a pandemic. A lot of people got very comfortable watching movies at home, and they found out and figured out that there's no reason anymore to go to the theaters to watch movies. And I will say that some of that is definitely true. That is definitely one of the factors there. But there was already a decline before that. And I think one of the reasons why the decline was there before, and I want to share my screen here because I'm going to take notes. I'm going to take notes, class. So if you want to play along, make sure you take some notes. Is movie tickets are too damn expensive. Let me make this bigger so that everyone can see it. There we go. Movie tickets are too damn expensive. And this has been like an ongoing conversation and narrative for a very long time. And it's not just movie tickets. It's going to the movies is pretty damn expensive. Right? And I think I speak for a lot of people that this is one of the most common things. Sorry, we were watching movies at home before that. Oh, no, definitely. But you definitely, at least in the past, you saw people splitting their time. Yes, people watch movies at home, but a lot of people went to the theaters to watch movies, especially new movies. That was the only way you could see new movies at all, was to first go to the theater until it hit home video. But then when it hit home video, you had to wait 6 months, a year, sometimes a couple of years before it hit home video. And even longer before it hit something like an HBO or a Cinemax or a Showtime, right? So I'm definitely not arguing anything against that. But, there was a time where a lot of people were going to the movies to watch brand new movies. And that has been dwindling because before the pandemic, it was definitely because I think movie tickets and going to the movies in general is just way too expensive. And I'll give you an example here. So I'm going to go to AMC because AMC is like one of the most, I guess, popular theater chains here in the United States, right? And I'm here in New York. So one of the things you should also know too is that movie ticket prices are very different across the country. And I'm sure internationally is also very different too. But prices in major metropolitan cities like California, New York, I would say probably Chicago, Texas, maybe Boston, movie ticket prices are going to be much higher than the rest of the country there. So this is just an example for me here in New York. But let's say I wanted to go out and watch Furiosa today. It's a holiday. I want to hang out with some family or some of my friends. We have nothing else to do. We overstuffed on hot dogs and burgers, and we want to relax and go to the movies, right? All right. So I'm going to go to watch Furiosa. And let's see. Where is it showing? Get tickets. Come on. Work for me here. All right. I'm going to do 10018 because that is a famous zip code in the city. AMC 34. Look at that. You got recliners and all. Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's go. All right. So what AMC has been doing recently is that any showings before 5 o'clock on a weekday, you can usually get a ticket for 20% off, right? So let's say I wanted to watch just a regular showing, right? AMC, you have IMAX, you have Dolby, and you have open caption, which I saw a movie before with open captions. It was actually kind of interesting because it's just the captions are just there in front of your face. So if you like watching movies with subtitles, that's definitely the way to go, right? So at AMC 34, they also have laser. I don't know what that means at all. But let's say I wanted to treat myself and I'm going to go watch an IMAX showing. 20% off my ticket. Why not? Hey, look at that. We got seats. So it's me and a friend. So we'll get these two seats right here, right? All right, let's go. So look at this already, right here. For an IMAX showing of Furiosa, it's $24.68 per ticket, because that's $21.99 plus a $2.69 fee when you buy your ticket online. Now, if you're a child, look at that. You get a nice little discount of $2. $22.38. Right? If you're a senior, look how lucky you are. You get a $1 discount of 23. You get $23.58. Right? So, 2 adults going to the movies. And of course, when you're at the movies, you're going to buy something from the concessions, right? So you get popcorn and 2 large drinks. So a large popcorn and 2 large drinks is $25.47. Let's say I'm going to get one of those, right? And then they try to push on more stuff for you and blah, blah, blah. You know, get some donut holes and yada, 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 and all that bullshit, right? And now look at my overall total. 2 adult tickets for an IMAX showing of Furiosa, $43.98. Plus, you have a convenience fee for $5.38 because I'm buying my ticket online. So if I bought the ticket at the theater, you would subtract that. A large popcorn and 2 large drinks is $25.47. There's a service fee of $1 and plus taxes is $2.35. So for 2 people going to the movies with concessions, $78.18. How ridiculous is that? That's nuts. That is nuts to me. That is so damn expensive. Now I'm sure a lot of you are probably saying, "Well, Renee, how do you afford to buy tickets? Right? How are you going to the movies every week?" Well, that's because I have a movie pass. Not with AMC, but with Regal. All I do is pay $26 a month, and I get to see as many movies as I want throughout the month. That's it. That's how I afford it. I usually bring a drink from home. I have like a can of Coke or a bottle of Coke. And I will at times partake in popcorn. And what I did is I bought a refillable tin or a refillable like kind of bucket, like a plastic bucket. I paid $30 for it. But every time I go to the theater and I want to buy popcorn, I only spend $5 for a refill for that. So at most, I will spend $5 each time I go to the movies. But if you're someone who just goes to the movies once every couple months, once every 3 months, with somebody, if you're a couple, right? You're spending around $80 to go to the movies. And that's just for IMAX, all right? Let's say you wanted to go watch just a regular movie in a regular screen. And I guess for AMC, they're calling it laser, right? That's a regular showing, right? So let's do 2 tickets. I want to watch If. $22 per person. Do that. Large popcorn and a drink and 2 large drinks. Now your cost is not that much cheaper. $73.18. Hachi machi. I mean, seriously. That is just ridiculous. That is seriously ridiculous. Also, I just realized that this thing is so tiny. Give me 1 second. I'm just doing a little bit of adjustments here, because something looks very tiny on the screen. All right. So regardless of whether you're watching IMAX or a regular screening of something, you're going to be spending around $40 for 2 tickets for 2 people to go watch a movie. Now, imagine you had a family of 4, right? Let's say you and the kids, you want to watch a movie, right? So it's going to be 2 adults, 2 kids. And everyone has to share a popcorn, damn it. No one's getting their own. And 2 of the kids are going to be sharing 1 soda. And the parents are going to share 1. Why? Because this dad is cheap. So for 2 adults and 2 kids going to watch Garfield on Memorial Day, expect to spend almost $115 to go to 1 movie.
Wow.
Hey, how about you thank them, dickless?
That is insane. Insane. Doesn't make it. It won't. If I didn't have a movie pass and I knew I had to spend this much money to go to the movies, I would never go. And I can understand now why a lot of people will not go. You know, and again, this is just New York City prices. I don't know how much it is elsewhere. Maybe it'll be a little cheaper, right? Slightly cheaper, but nothing like this. Nothing that will say, hey, that's not that bad. Maybe if you go to like a mom and pop theater, which there are still few out there, maybe you'll spend less money going to the movies. You know, where you're not spending an exorbitant amount of money on concessions. And you can't blame the movie theaters either because they make their money from concessions. That's the only way they make money. Because the studios take a huge chunk out of ticket sales. You know, their main money is concessions. And that's why AMC and Regal, they found a new way to make money, and by introducing the limited edition popcorn buckets. Which, believe it or not, they sell like hotcakes. The most recent big, trend outside of the whole Dune 2 popcorn thing was the Ghostbusters popcorn buckets. And those things sold out everywhere. So that's another way that these theaters are finding ways to make money. But it's insane knowing that as a person going to the movie theaters, you're expected to pay at least $50 for a movie ticket and for concessions. $40 to $50. It's just too much money. So, yeah, going to the movies is damn expensive. Well, Starlord, you're talking about now. You're talking about how long it takes for movies to reach on demand now. They shortened the window. You know, prior to the pandemic, that was never the case. You know, people had to wait. Sometimes people didn't know when movies were going to come out on demand or on physical media. You're right. And arcade machines was another way movie theaters made money too. You know, but no one plays arcades anymore. No one plays video games outside of home anymore. Because even arcade machines became way too expensive. My theater that I go to, which is a Regal theater, has 5 arcade machines, 2 sets of the basketball hoop thing, 2 gacha games, and another prize game or something like that. And one of the arcade machines they have is a big Tomb Raider shooter, right? Where you get a gun, it's a Tomb Raider game, and you're shooting at a giant projection screen. To play, and everyone does the cards and all that. But I looked at how much the credits were. It's basically equivalent to like $3 or $4 to play one game for one person. It's ridiculous how expensive these things are, right? But that is indeed another way that movie theaters make money. More and more movie theaters, chains like AMC, Regal, they're selling merchandise too. Plushies, t-shirts. Every time a new movie comes out, they're trying their darndest to make as much money as possible. You know, I don't know how well they're succeeding, but they're definitely doing better than they were a couple of years ago, but, you know, different times, right? So movie tickets and going to the movies is pretty damn expensive, right? I think another reason why people aren't going, and it goes along with what I was saying before, is that people are too comfy watching movies at home. Oh, why is this changing all the time? Sorry. There we go. And that was basically what, spawned from the pandemic. What's up, Gorilla Fantasy? See, Gorilla Fantasy says, I'm not going because I have a nice TV, which is very true. A lot of people now, because it's become affordable for most, you could get a very nice TV, nice sound bar, maybe even a full-fledged sound system, and you can have a movie theater experience at home. It's very easy these days and affordable for most. Not everyone, but it's affordable for most people. And because of that, it's gotten very comfortable to just watch movies at home now. You know, and to help with that, another reason is number 3. And this is, I'm going to what Starlord was saying before, is that new movies hit home streaming much faster now. A lot of studios, and this is also because of the pandemic, a lot of people, or a lot of studios, I should say, have shortened the window for releasing movies, either video on demand, digitally purchasing them, or attaching it to some sort of streaming platform like Max, Hulu, Prime, whatever the case is. Fall Guy is a great example. Fall Guy came out, and 2 weeks later, it was already available video on demand. Now, granted, you had to rent it for $20 or own it for $25, so you're still paying a premium. But think about it. If you're a family of 4 and you wanted to watch Fall Guy, $25 to own it versus what I just went through, $111 to watch a movie in the theater with popcorn and drinks. A lot more people will just watch it at home and just wait. And it's much easier to do that. Now we have streaming in comments. What's the difference? Oh, about like scrolling for hours? Yeah. Well, that's the problem I have, especially with like Netflix or something. It's like there's just so much content now online. It takes me forever to figure out what I want to watch. Deuce Spice, what's going on? Deuce Spice, too expensive for those horrible movies. Gorilla Fantasy, I can eat whatever I want while watching a movie. Also, new movies are not worth my time. If they don't release the movie on streaming, I won't remember it and won't care for it. Never airs on TV. Very fair points, very fair comments. And I think a lot of people have those same mindsets. Now, for the comment on the quality of movies, right? And I think that's another thing to put up here too, is that quality of movies have tanked for the most part, right? My question to Deuce and Gorilla, what kind of movies do you feel are tanking these days as far as quality is concerned? Like, what genre of movie do you usually watch? What genre of movie did you used to watch in the theater that you feel, man, they just haven't been doing these movies justice, and I just rather not go and I'll just watch it on TV or on streaming when it comes out? Because that is a very common thing that a lot of people are saying, is like the quality of movies have tanked. But for someone like me who watches a broad range of movies, I think the quality of movies have actually increased. It's just a lot of people aren't watching those movies that I'm watching. A lot of people are watching the bigger budgeted blockbuster type of movie. You know, your Marvel movies, your big sci-fi extravaganza like movies. You know, I'm just curious. And like Star-Lord just said here, quality is very subjective, which I totally agree. You know, I argue that last year, for me personally, it was one of the best years as far as quality was concerned in movies. But I'm watching a lot of movies that not a lot of people are watching. I saw Alex Garland's Civil War. It was quite good. Yes, I agree. That movie, Civil War, was fantastic. Really, really great movie. I mean, Alex Garland in general, the movies that he directs are very good. You know. But it's true, though. For every Alex Garland quality movie we get crap. Like, what was that silly movie that came out that nobody went to see? Ministry of something Negroes or something like that. That, like, the minute that trailer came out, that movie you knew was dead on arrival. No one was gonna go watch that movie because it just looked horrible. Speaking from an editor's point of view, yes, Star-Lord is indeed an editor, so you know, he understands how quality can be very different depending on who's watching whatever type of content, right? But yes, I do agree that there are a lot of movies that have sucked. You know, I think one should say that the quality of movie that tends to make money at the box office has tanked in recent years. And I think that's one of the downsides of the increase of your superhero fare. Marvel have ruled the box office for a very long time. And everyone who were fans of Marvel, who watched these Marvel movies, were excited for every new movie that came out, and every new movie hit home. The minute it stopped, that's when things started to drop. But the only downside is that if quality was dipping, that did not stop them from pushing out more and more stuff. They kept pushing out more and more movies, and the more they pushed, the more the quality tanked, because it became like an assembly line of movies, right? It's like, we have to release this, we have to release that, blah, 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 this, right? And then studios are panicking. What's going to make money? What can we do to bring butts back in the seats? All right, let's revitalize some franchises. You know, some with success, some with least amount of success. You know, you have Bad Boys now coming out with another Bad Boys movie. Did the last Bad Boys movie do that well that it warranted another one? I don't know. I would argue saying like maybe not so much so. Sorry, yeah, movies are bad, but the question is, what can we do with them? I mean, I think the real question is what are studios going to do to ensure that movies like that, what they're trying to do, doesn't suck, right? And that's hard. It's very hard to say. Gorilla Fantasy, open AI will soon make blockbusters obsolete. Did you see the Legend of Zelda Panavision movie trailer? Incredible. I did not see that. But that's like a fan-made movie trailer. Am I right? That's like was that done with OpenAI? I mean, the thing is, like, OpenAI will make blockbusters, but they're gonna suck quality-wise, because, you know, there's not enough human element attached to it. Now, it could make it look great. Like, I remember there was a stint of several months. There's this company called Curious Refuge, I think their name was. And they were putting out AI-generated trailers, fantasy-like trailers of movies starring people, right? And it was very much done in the vein of like Wes Anderson films. They did like a Dune version done up in like a Wes Anderson style. They did a Lord of the Rings done up in like a Wes Anderson style. And I remember I reacted to those trailers because I thought they were fascinating. I thought, wow, this is how far we've come with AI, which is great. You know, and I remember I had a small conversation with some of the guys from Curious Refuge because they commented on one of my trailer reactions. And it wasn't just AI that they did. They had to like go in there and edit a lot of things. You know, the voiceovers, they had to edit a lot of the transitions. They added some of their own special effects to everything. You know, so there was definitely human involvement in it. But how is that going to play out for like a movie that's like an hour and a half, 2 hours? You know, I'm sure the speed in making movies will be done quicker. But quality-wise, I don't know. I worry about that. Gorilla, we have a problem that younger filmmakers are dumb as a box of hammers, and the movies reflect that. True. But again, yeah, you also have to think about it too. There are a lot of movies that come out every year. You know, later on, I'm going to be talking about Cannes Film Festival and some of the winners from there. And you know, I think the better thing to say is there are a lot of young filmmakers that are given way too much freedom to make movies that maybe they shouldn't be. You know, like, I feel like if you're a young filmmaker, you should work with a studio or work with a collaboration of people and have them help you make your first movie. See what you can do. Have people around you fine-tune it for you. And then if it works out, all right, next movie you do, it's all on you. Let's see what happens. But we're going to give you notes. You know, there needs to be some sort of mentorship and tutelage for a lot of these young filmmakers. The one thing is, like, I never want to encourage anyone who's trying to be a filmmaker. I think that's one of the things you should never do. Don't discourage filmmakers from doing what they want to do. Nowadays, it's so easy to become a filmmaker too. You don't have to release a movie in theaters anymore. All you have to do is release it on YouTube and see if it catches an audience, see if it catches attention. And then eventually you're going to blow up and do something if you're good at it. That's what basically happened to the Daniels, right? Or the Australian guys who did the movie Talk to Me. I believe they were YouTubers at one point. You know, they made stuff on YouTube and it caught enough people's attention. And then when they did their own movie, they knocked it out of the park. You know, A24 is very good at finding talent like that. You know. Star-Lord reminds me of directors of good movies just laughing at their reboots. They ain't even mad. Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's like this. At the end of the day, if a reboot isn't good, you still have the original to go back to, right? It doesn't really like hurt the original movie at all. I mean, at least that's how I think about it. That's how I look at it. Gorilla, it won't work. Studios are risk averse. Studios like formulas and algorithms. Not well. Bigger studios, I would agree with. Your Warner Brothers, your Disneys, your Paramounts. That is probably very true. But A24, you still have studios that still take a lot of risks. A24 is one of them. Neon is another one. Lionsgate on occasion would. You know, so you still have studios that still do that. But it's not like how it was back in the day when you had New Line Cinema or Canon, right? A lot of these more independently run studios that maybe they could be a subsidiary of a major studio, but they're given a little bit more free reign to do things. You know. But I do think there is going to be a shift eventually, at least maybe for a couple years, where you're going to see the quality of movies increasing and the output increasing from studios like A24, Lionsgate, Neon. You know, Bleecker Street is another one. There's a lot of movies like Bleecker Street puts out that I really enjoy. You know, you're going to see those movies getting more attention in upcoming years, until the studios, the big studios, can figure things out, retool themselves, and get back into the mix. I think that's what we're going to eventually be seeing for the next couple of years. A24's best movies are still mid compared to what we saw in the 70s. Yeah, it's a different time. You know, again, I feel like back then, there was nothing to compare anything to, really. And especially in the 70s, a lot of people were definitely taking more risk back then. I want to see Macabre and Miss in Days. But you're also, for someone like yourself, and again, those are great stuff that you're naming out there. There are a lot of people who don't. You know, and the one thing is, when you look at a more general sense of audiences, and I think that's another question to really ask, is what do people want to see? What will bring people to movies, right? You can watch movies at home all day. But what we saw last year with Barbie and Oppenheimer, that totally flipped the script. Now, granted, it was a social media phenomenon that really helped formulate that whole thing, right? But they made it an event. What movies or what can studios do in the future to make these things events that you want to go to? You know, Taylor Swift's concert film was a major event. A lot of people went to go see it, right? Gorilla. Yeah, but those are the type of movies that we'll get. And that's fair. That's fair. That's completely fair. Yeah, and I think every now and then, for you, Gorilla, for you personally, you will get a movie like that every now and then. You're not going to get it every year. You know, you're not going to get it maybe multiple times a year, but every now and then you may get that. You know, so at least you know for yourself what will bring you back to theaters when you want to watch a movie. For the general audience, I don't know. And I think that's one of the things that the studios really need to focus on and think about these days. Because one thing you have to also understand too is that if movies don't do well in the theaters, and if it continues to suffer like this, it's only going to hurt the production of movies moving forward overall. Studios are going to be spending less money on things. The more they're going to, stop taking risks. They're gonna, like Gorilla would say, stick to the algorithm, stick to what they think will work well, or regurgitate older ideas, or bring back dead franchises, in hoping that they could make new franchises, or reboot a franchise. And that goes against what Gorilla, myself, I'm sure Star-Lord, it goes against what we want to eventually see coming out. And that is more unique storylines, more riskier storylines, more riskier filmmaking, talent associated with these things. It would be nice if AMC didn't charge so much money for that stuff, but as I alluded to earlier, that's the only way they can make money. It's through the concessions. Ticket prices, I agree though. Ticket prices are way too expensive. I don't think we'll ever find a way of those ticket prices ever going back down. But at least a lot of these theaters are doing their best to try to cater more. AMC, for example, like I mentioned before, if you watch movies during the week, earlier in the day, you can get a ticket for like 20% off. It's not a lot, but it's something, right? I don't know if they still do this, but don't they do every Tuesdays is half off? I know Regal does that. Or they have like $5 Mondays or $5 Tuesdays or something like that. I see them experimenting and trying to do more of those things. But I understand too, not a lot of people and not everyone can go watch a movie on a Monday or Tuesday, right? So it would be nice, like I missed the days back then where we had the Sunday matinees. Every movie before noon or before like 3 p.m. was half off at this local theater that I used to go to when I was a kid. Sunday matinees. I missed those days like that. Or I missed what was it? We had, at one point, we had the $2 theater where it would be, they would show movies that were out like a month or two before, already finished their run in the theaters. And they would show it there for like very heavily discounted tickets. And I believe they were $2 a pop. It would be nice if we had more theaters like that, but cost of running those businesses are very expensive. Agree with you, Star-Lord. Franchises brought back from the dead with style. There has to be something. There has to be something with it. So continuing on why people aren't going to the movies. So pretty expensive. The comfort of watching movies at home. I think we should also add in here, it's more affordable to have movie theater experience at home. New movies that hit streaming much faster. Quality of movies have tanked. I think, speaking just for this year alone, the writers and actors strike hurt. The reason why I bring this up is because there were a lot of movies that had to get pushed back because of the strikes last year. That's why this summer is very light on stuff. Very, very light. The fact that you have three movies that most of the studios are banking on in hopes to be making big bucks this summer. One, I will say, will do well. It's my hit of the summer, my hit of the year. Last year we had Barbie. This year it's going to be Deadpool and Wolverine. But the other two that they're really, really hoping for is Twisters, something a sequel, 30 years in the making, I guess, and Despicable Me 4. I'll tell you right now, those movies aren't going to do as great as Deadpool and Wolverine. I will guarantee you, if Furiosa can do 25, 26 million at opening weekend, a movie like Twisters will probably do around the same amount, if not less. And I love the original Twister movie. That was like a movie I used to watch almost every week. With my little VHS, I used to pop that in. Gorilla, I'll bet we're going to see Amazon-owned movie thing. Yep. Oh, they do. Yeah. Netflix. I go to the Paris Theater a lot because I'm in New York City. And I think eventually, because right now there's, isn't there some sort of pact within the studio in Hollywood that at one point back in the 50s, studios were allowed to own theaters and open them up. And then there was some sort of law or pact that was signed that said that they could no longer do that. I think eventually all of them are going to meet and they're all going to say, you know what? I think we need to let this go and do our own thing. And I think I do agree. I think eventually we're going to be seeing that again. Netflix has one in New York City. Disney actually owns one in LA, right across from Grauman's Chinese theater. That theater where they have premieres of movies and all that, they own that theater. I think that's where Jimmy Kimmel also films too. So I do think eventually we're going to be seeing more of that. So that as far as studios are concerned, they don't have to spend so much, I guess, in distribution and partnerships with theater chains, right? Since they own them. And that could be another way to kind of bail out a lot of these struggling theater chains too. It's all right, well, guess what? It's AMC owned by Warner Brothers or Regal owned by Universal. No Philip Seymour Hoffman, no Twisters. But you have Dorothy. Dorothy's back. Dorothy's back in Twisters. I don't know. I'm going to see it. I'm actually, there's a part of me that is slightly looking forward to it. Just because I'm so curious how that movie is going to turn out. Wicked, on the other hand, they are really, really, I think, hoping that Wicked is going to be the big hit of the holiday season, and I honestly don't think it will be. I don't think Wicked's going to do that. I don't think it'll do that well. If it does, I'll be surprised. I'll eat my words once that happens. I'll say it. If Wicked does 50 million plus in the holiday box office, I don't know. I will do something. Because for me, that movie looks awful. Or maybe I shouldn't say that, You know why? Because there are a lot of people who are fans of the musical that they're going to go out and support that movie. But musicals in general don't do well at the box office anymore. In the Heights, West Side Story, Um, even though they were very well done musicals, they don't do well in the box office. And the fact that this Wicked movie is a part 1 of 2, that I'll never understand. Never understand that. So yeah, definitely the writers and actors strike hurt for this year. That's why this summer it's very thin. And this is definitely going to be a very low earning summer as far as movies are concerned. Outside of the 5 things we have here, guys, what other reasons would you put up here as to why people aren't going to movies anymore? Oh, I have another one. Bad behavior. I think this is another big problem people have. Yeah, people on their cell phones all the time. People that can't stop talking, especially a lot of people who are used to watching movies at home now. They think they can act the same way going to the theater and acting that way. And I'll always bring this example up is when I went to watch The Little Mermaid, the live action Little Mermaid in theaters. It was the Thursday before the weekend. I literally had my own commentary track right on my right side with these 2 guys, and all they did was comment throughout the whole movie. You would think that they were doing a podcast. And I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. How can you think it's okay to be talking that much throughout the whole movie? It's terrible. It was terrible. You know? And then, of course, if you live in a neighborhood that has a babysitter theater, that's what I call them. Babysitter theaters are theaters that parents with kids will go to when they have no babysitter. So they'll go and watch an R-rated movie, a horror movie, with their 3-year-old. Sometimes 2 of them. And of course, you hear them crying, you hear them running around. But the parents, they want to see that movie, damn it. So they use the theater as the babysitter. So I think a lot of this type of behavior has prevented people from going to the theaters these days as well. Gorilla, I'll be honest, the era of prestige TV with astronomical budgets, I'm surprised film isn't morphing into high-budgeted miniseries. The hour 30 movie format is a dinosaur. Yeah. Well, you could make a case where a lot of the movies that come out probably would do better as a limited series. You know, or a prolonged season of a series, especially a lot of these major franchises, superhero genre type film. I know what was it? Was it Denis Villeneuve? It was either Denis Villeneuve or Luca Guadagnino who said that younger generations, they love watching 3-hour movies. I don't agree with that comment at all. Now, there may be more and more of a tolerance for 3-hour movies only because we've been getting so many of them lately. But one of the things I'll add to this list is younger generation are used to short content, aka TikTok and YouTube. Younger generations, they don't appreciate movies like we do. So they watch a lot of their content in short form, whether it be TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, or just put IG. That's why you have studios at one point contemplating putting out seasons of their shows in small snippets on TikTok. Wasn't HBO planning to do that with with at least the first season of Sopranos? What's happening? Who wants to see that? In minute-long snippets of Sopranos? It doesn't make any sense to me. But you have a lot of studios talking about that now. Why did I say content? It's content. Content.
You blew it!
Star-Lord, if Star-Lord was a tornado, he would not only be an F class, F5, he would also be F this.
Wow. Hey, how about you thank them, dickless?
Didn't they try that with an app? You could turn horizontal and vertical. All the studios with all of them, it feels on. Well, they did have, so there was it Quibi or Quibi, right? Quibi was supposed to be quick, small snippet, small form content, whether it be movies or TV programming that you could only watch on your cell phone. And yes, you were able to turn it vertically and watch it horizontally as well. And in a matter of months, it ended. But it was released in 2020, in the height of the pandemic. Who's going around watching stuff on their phone when they're home? I think the timing was poorly done. If I were them, and it's hard to say too, because I'm sure a lot of money went into producing an app like that. And a lot of the licenses and a lot of the contracts that you had, that they had to release it, right? There was no way that they couldn't. But I think they just got screwed over by the bad timing of the pandemic. Because what they had in mind is that people who are commuting to work, people who are, at the office or on their lunch break, they could spend like a quick 10 minutes watching several episodes of something or watching parts of a movie, really geared content towards small snippets, right? And that is really to be watched on your phone. But it was just bad timing. Bad timing. Now, I do wonder what would happen if they released something like that now, this year. Would they see much more success? Maybe. I mean, look how well TikTok is doing. Granted, TikTok is in a lot of legal battles right now, and we may not have a TikTok by the end of the year, but still, there are a lot of people who prefer watching content that way. And there's no longer that kind of interest in watching movies anymore in the traditional sense. And I think that's kind of sad, to be honest with you, because I think because of things like TikTok, because of things like YouTube, Instagram, it's caused people to have shorter attention spans. Oh, I totally remember Vine. Vine was basically like the Snapchat of video, quick 30-minute or 1-minute video that was only available for 24 hours before it goes away. That was very successful for a time. And then I think the guys who owned it, they were spending too much money or something like that. And then they tried to sell it off to somewhere. And then when they did, that person closed it out. Didn't it sell to Snapchat or Facebook? And they just kind of dead it. Said, screw this, we're just going to do our own. I don't really quite remember, but Vine was big. But Vine was also meant for, you could see like a lot of people were there. It felt like early YouTube. If you remember YouTube when it first came out around 2008, 2009, a lot of the videos that we saw on YouTube were very short. They were like 5 minutes or something like that. And of course, a lot of them were like skateboarding videos or comedy videos, skits. A lot of pirated stuff, clips from movies and TV shows and cartoons. But I felt like Vine was almost similar to that in a sense. Lele Pons was the Vine queen. I don't know who that is. It's funny because I know of Vine, but I never spent a lot of time on it. I just remember, what was it? Will Ferrell or Kevin Hart? Do it for the Vine. I kept saying that. And I don't know if they originated that phrase, but I just remember that was the thing that kept going on. And then later on, that morphed into do it for the gram. I guess nowadays people say, do it for the talks, the TikToks. Yeah, it's crazy. It's really, really crazy. Number 8 is Disney. Why would you say Disney? Because they ruin everything. How about too much dependency on franchises? Right? That's kind of Disney. But that also can be Warner Brothers. That also can be Universal. You know, and just to clarify on this point is focus too much on potential sequels, trilogies, like that. Disney is like the nothing in the never-ending story.
Wow.
Hey, how about you thank them, dickless?
That is really funny. That's pretty funny. Star Wars especially. Yeah, it's like I hate hearing whenever any studio puts out a movie, and the most common narrative is that, well, you think there will be a sequel, or what's the potential that this could be a trilogy? Why not just focus on making a good movie with a good story and leave it at that? And if there's a sequel that warrants continuation of said story, then you can look into that. But I feel like nowadays, a lot of these studios, all they do is they make a movie or they approve a script, and then they think of, how can we expand on this? Would this be a potential Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings? Or F that, let's just go back to Lord of the Rings, like what Warner Brothers is doing now with Peter Jackson, and putting out the new series of movies that he's working on. You know, which I love me Peter Jackson, and I love those Lord of the Rings movies. Not so much The Hobbit, but the original 3. But I don't need another movie about Gollum. I don't care about Gollum. I've seen enough of him. I get it. I don't need to see any more Gollum stories. And then what other stories is he gonna tell? How Legolas got his original bow? How Gimli got his axe? You know? It's like, stop with the focus on franchising everything. What about Johnny Depp losing work with a franchise he built up with him, with Pirates of the Caribbean? But I wonder too, you're not wrong, but I wonder also how, I'm sure there's a part of him that's very happy he doesn't have to do that anymore. I'm sure the money was fantastic. And we know that a lot of these actors would do movies like that because of the cash. If they make so much money from these movies, it allows them freedom to do whatever they want outside, or allows them to take on like that smaller role, right? You know, a lot of directors do the same thing, where it's a one for me, one for you kind of situation, where it's like, I'll direct your big budget movie if you want me to, as long as I could direct my movie that I've been working on for the last 6 years. Yeah, they have a lot of those like handshake agreements, those like kind of back and forth agreements. So I wonder, like, if Johnny Depp, if there's a version, like a part of him that's happy that he doesn't have to go back to that well anymore. That is if he's smart with his money. If he saved enough of his money from all the Pirates movies. I mean, that's a lot of dough right there. A lot of dough. What else would you add to this list, everyone? I'm curious. I guess, you know what? Another thing I would add to this list is TV streaming shows have become shows. How about this? Quality of TV streaming shows increased. So this goes along with what Gorilla has said before, where there's a lot of the TV and streaming shows nowadays that are so much better than movies that people rather just watch those than actual movies themselves. You know, you have your Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, your Shoguns, your, I would even say, even as recent as X-Men 97, one of the best things Marvel has put out in a very long time, your Andors. And I'm just naming a small handful of them. Look how many people love the Yellowstone franchise, the Bridgerton franchise. Star-Lord say you can go on, but you won't. Girl, I get the feeling that Hollywood is in the business of social engineering nowadays. Telling stories is just a vehicle for whatever propaganda. Maybe, but I guess you can argue in a certain way that they've always been kind of like that. Maybe they're becoming more and more vocal these days. But I also feel like there are more studios popping up that are much more vocal like that. Like I just mentioned before when I was going over the box office breakdown, Angel Studios has come out as being one of those studios that really speak up on a certain social point of view with a lot of the movies that they put out. And I'm not going to get political on this channel. I never do. But, you know, you have a lot of your faith-based movies that do very well at the theaters. Right? So I would agree that there is a sector of Hollywood that probably focuses a lot on that stuff. For sure. Absolutely. Stallard, I know you don't want to go on, but what would be one other thing you would add to this list? Let's just round it up to a 10. Actually, let's round it up to 12. I don't want to do 11 because Doug owns that. Top 11. I like to do top 12. Why? Because I treat it like a calendar year. One reason for every month of the year. There we go. That's my catchphrase.
You blew it!
Wow, 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 wow.
Hey, how about you thank them, dickless?
I'm trying to think what else we could add to this list here. But I think for the most part, we got a pretty decent list going on here. And I think this speaks to a lot of people for sure. Yeah. I want to change this to more affordable and easy. Movies are designed. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree, Gorilla. That's exactly why I have number 8 here. There's too much dependency on creating these kind of sequels and trilogies and franchises. Too much of that. Instead of focusing on just the one story, and if it does well and if something does warrant a follow-up, then do so. But I blame properties like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. Obviously, Marvel's another problem, where these studios saw so much money because of these franchises. I guess Hunger Games is another one that you could kind of blame for this. You know, because they saw how much money they were making. They saw the anticipation and people going out to support and watch these movies. The minute it ended, Warner Brothers was freaking out when the last Harry Potter movie came out. They're like, what are we going to do now once this franchise is over? This has been our cash cow for what? A decade? Right? And look what they try to do. Fantastic Beast. After 2, they're like, ain't quite working out. Lord of the Rings. Hey, let's try The Hobbit. And instead of 1, let's make it 2 movies. Nope. Didn't work. The Hobbit, you could have easily have told the whole story in just 1 movie. And knowing Peter Jackson, he would have been able to do it like brilliantly. No, they had to force him to make 2. Prometheus, for example. What the hell? Yeah, that whole alien. I'm curious and somewhat excited for Romulans coming out this summer, the new Aliens movie. Because 1, I think Fede Alvarez is good for this franchise. Bring it back to the horror roots, which I think it's been needing for a while. But with them going back to like Prometheus and like all that stuff, it was just so confusing and just so bizarre to me. I don't know what they were thinking with that. But I guess that's also another great example of studios trying to really revitalize these franchises that are dormant for a while. Say, hey, let's bring back Aliens. They brought back Predator, but it worked out well. Prey was fantastic because it went back to its roots. So I hope the follow-up to that will remain the same way. But look at all the other Predator movies we got before that. So weird. And most of them were all over the place. I liked Predators. Because wasn't Predators the one where everyone was stuck on a planet and they pulled in all of these like major, I guess, killers of their kind of where they're from to hunt the predator, right? And then there was Predator that felt very goofy and cheesy. That was the Predator that was like in a suburban neighborhood, right? Which made no freaking sense whatsoever. Yeah, the Adrian Brody one. I liked that one. That was good. And then I don't know what the hell happened with the other one. That was just so bizarre. And don't get me started on the whole Alien versus Predator. The 2 movies they did for that. That was just... what were they doing? So there's all kind of BS. Naming them might trigger me. All right, everybody. We don't want Star-Lord to get triggered. Let's be nice.
How about you thank them, dickless?
Alien Romulus actually sounds like a drink. But yes, close enough. A soup. What would you be having, sir, for your dinner? How's the Alien Romulus? Oh, it's quite delicious. A little spicy. I hope you don't mind it. Yes, I'll take that, please. Thank you. With a side of bread, please. A soup you eat at Area Feed Me One. Everyone, Star-Lord will be here all week. I keep forgetting I have this. So yeah. So I think we'll close this list up for now. But in my opinion, and according to some of you out there, is that these are some of the major reasons why no one goes to movies anymore. And again, I don't blame anyone because of a lot of these reasons are pretty legit, you know. So what is that going to mean for the state of the summer? Now you're triggered. Why are you triggered now? What did we do? Star-Lord, what did we do? Gorilla's going to say something controversial, everybody. Get ready. Star Wars in 1977 was the cinematic equivalent of flesh-eating virus. Wow! It was like a disease that infested Hollywood and changed the trajectory for the worse. So, let me just... I want to make sure I understand what you're saying here. Let's take it in, digest it, and let's understand it. So are you saying that Star Wars that came out in 1997, my Star Wars, George Lucas, and I sold it to Disney for $4 billion. Yes, I made good money. That movie caused a ripple effect that infested Hollywood because it was, are you saying because it introduced the blockbuster genre and how every studio after that was trying to chase that kind of feeling and effect? Is that what you mean by that? Star-Lord doesn't like movies anymore. They don't seem right. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Yes. Okay. I will agree with you a little bit. So I won't say that's controversial, but when you look at it in kind of a business standpoint, I will say I slightly agree with you. Yes. You could also say a movie like Jaws, which really launched the blockbuster franchise even more so. You know, releasing during the summer, making a huge hit out of that. That could be another problem that also infested Hollywood with what's going on. You know, there's a lot of things to blame when you look at the history of Hollywood and movie making. I could say I would blame Marvel. Marvel, with their form of storytelling, created this event-like movie-going experience that even more and more studios tried to latch onto. DC and Warner Brothers tried to latch on that. Remember we were hearing left and right about people creating their own cinematic universes. Most of them didn't even come into fruition after a while. And then look what's happening now. Marvel has fizzled out, and now need to figure out what they're going to do moving forward. So yeah, that would be a great case study. And actually, I think you just gave me a brilliant idea, Gorilla. So I thank you for that. Is there will be a great video series to talk about as far as some of the major events that happened in Hollywood and movie history that damaged movies going forward, right? So, and of course, no one was ever going to predict how bad things were going to be, or how good things were going to blow up to be, right? I'm pretty sure when Marvel Studios when they released Iron Man, they were just hoping. They were just like, fingers crossed that people will like this movie. You know, fingers crossed people will like the next 10 movies we put out. And it just kept getting better and better and better and better. More money, more money, more money, more money. And then Endgame. And that was like the height of it. And then crash and burn after that. Because they didn't know what else to do. And what was the solution? Pump out more stuff, pump up more stuff, more. And that wasn't a good way to handle it. Don't you blame Arnold? I wouldn't blame Arnold with bad effects of the Hollywood industry. Even Terminator, I wouldn't say, contributed to that. Because if you ask, look, Arnold turned into an action star in the 80s. So did Stallone. Arnold had Conan. He did well with Commando. He did well with Predator. He did well with several other movies. And then he also did decently when it comes to comedy. Kindergarten Cop and all that. I don't think a lot of people expected Terminator 2 to be so big. Because when Terminator 1 came out, it was okay, right? And then Terminator 2, when that came out, oh my gosh. And that led to, I guess, the renaissance of the action film genre in the 90s. But then it immediately crashed and burned when Last Action Hero came out. Now you bring up Batman and Robin, that's what kind of killed the superhero comic book movie genre overall. I blame Warner Brothers for that. And that's why no studio touched anything superhero or comic book related for a long time. Gorilla, it's more of a commentary on the state of audiences. You can understand the studios for cashing in. It's the audience's fault for allowing it to keep happening. Yeah. I guess you could say that. It's consumerism, isn't it? At the end of the day. The thing is, if you create something that people want more of it. Right? But I think that's just human nature. They want more of it, or they want something that's unattainable so bad that they'll go through lengths to get it. The thing is, it's true, you can't blame the studios for cashing in on it, but at the same time, you can blame the studios for promoting that behavior. But at the end of the day, it's consumerism. Spider-Man made the comeback. Spider-Man and X-Men. And some would even argue Blade made it okay. Blade made it okay to do whatchamacallit. Blade made it okay for comic book movies and superhero movies to be dark and interesting. Kind of like The Crow. They kept paying to see Transformers movies. Who are these people who kept... Look, I'll be honest. I know a lot of people who love those Transformers movies. I don't know why, but I know a lot of people who love them. So there are a lot of people out there who are huge fans of that franchise. I don't get it either. I really don't. But that's why they keep making money. Maybe not so much in recent years, because I think Bumblebee didn't do so well, but that was the fault of the studio. They didn't market it as a Transformers movie. They should have titled it Transformers Bumblebee instead of just Bumblebee. I think if they did that, it would have made more money. And then with was that Beast Wars or whatever? It did decently. But I also think, again, we're dealing with the fact that it came out during a time when a lot of people are going to movies anymore, like how it was back in the day. But at the end of the day, it all leads to what we're going to talk about now, and that is, what is the current state of the summer movies of 2024? And it's not looking good. It's not looking good at all. It really isn't. And I already did some of this on Friday, but I'll quickly do it now. And let's just recap the movies that are coming out this year. This summer, I should say. We already talked about Furiosa, right? And the way I'm going to be looking at this list is what movies, if any, are going to make any kind of impact at the box office, right? So, sharing my screen here. Hold on, and let me just adjust this so that everyone can see. The prequel no one needed. No one needed it, but I will say it was a very well done movie. And I will never go back on that. True, no one needed it, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people didn't want to go see it. It didn't have Mad Max in it. That's another reason why I'm sure a lot of people didn't have interest in it. But if you gave it a shot, it was a very well done movie. Especially if you're a major fan of Fury Road, it dove more into the lore and the backstory of that universe that we were introduced to in Fury Road. Because the one thing about the Mad Max movies, and this is another thing I talked about on Friday when I was recapping the whole movie series, is that lore and canon and continuity didn't really exist in any of the Mad Max movies. You could tell George Miller didn't give a shit about a lot of that stuff. But now with Fury Road, at least he showed that he has a universe in mind. And Furiosa gave us that. And me personally, I really appreciated it, Now, Gorilla, maybe for someone like you don't care about the lore at all. But I love to understand where these things came from, how this place was formed. What is Gastown? What is Bullet Farm? Who is this Immortan Joe? Who are these associates of his? And I got my answers, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I thought that was really cool. Now, not everyone would care, right? I get it. Everyone, I'm sure, wanted a 2-hour-long action sequence like Fury Road, which this movie definitely was not. But for someone like me, I appreciated it. But I could totally understand why a lot of people wouldn't want to see it or care about it, right? So I get it. But we're heading into June, right? We already got Garfield and Furiosa coming out. Bad Boys Ride or Die. I'm sure there's going to be a sector of people who would love to see this. I honestly don't know how well the last movie did. Here, let's look it up. Let's look up the Bad Boys franchise. And for some reason, this website is taking a long time. Here we go. So Bad Boys for Life came out in 2020. Did it come out in 2020? I thought it came out in 21. Oh, it came out just right before things hit, like shit hit the fan, huh? That's crazy. Okay. I can understand now why we're getting another movie. Domestically, 200 million. Internationally, another 200 million. So 424. All right. I get it. So that's why we're getting another one of these. However, I don't think we're going to see similar numbers like this for this movie. Do not. Not at all. So that's not looking good already. The Watchers horror film from M. Night Shyamalan's daughter. I think it will do independent movie numbers for the most part. Inside Out 2, Pixar sequel to Inside Out, which a lot of people love. But like I said before, families are no longer going to movies like they used to. So I don't think, as far as box office is concerned, that this is going to do big numbers. I don't think so. You know, especially, again, for the last several years, families have been so used to these new family movies releasing on streaming and Disney Plus very early and very soon. So I'm sure they'd rather just wait for that to happen. Bike Riders, I'm looking forward to it, but for the general audience, this is not going to do well at all. Janet Planet, another movie I would love to see. Heard nothing but good stuff about this during the festival circuit last year. General audiences are not going to go see it. Kind of Kindness. I love Yorgos Lanthimos. Poor Things was one of my favorite. It was my favorite movie of last year. But general audiences are not going to go out and see this movie, like me. Quiet Place Day One. I spoke to a friend recently over the weekend, and he said he was at work and this trailer popped up, and he loves the Quiet Place franchise like I do. He asked his coworker, he's like, "Man, I can't wait for this movie to come out. How about you?" It's like, "Yeah, this movie looks great." Wait, it's a prequel? You mean there are other movies like this? I think there are there's a lot of people who probably don't realize that this is part of a franchise. So, as far as box office is concerned, I don't think it's going to do that well. Then you have Kevin Costner's Horizon, an American Saga Chapter 1, which for me looks like a movie version of Yellowstone. Maybe you'll have an older generation going out to support a movie like this, but I don't think we're going to see big box office numbers. So, for June alone, you have 1, 2, maybe 3 movies that will do interesting numbers at the box office, but nothing to write home about. So we're looking at June possibly being another dud month. Now you have July. Despicable Me 4. If there was going to be any family movie coming out this summer that's going to do really well, this is the one. How well is yet to be seen, because it still comes into play that family movies don't do well anymore at box office, like I keep saying. Maxine, I'm looking forward to it. This might be probably the best performing horror movie of the summer, because people love this franchise. So that might do well. But we're not talking about astronomical numbers here either, right? Longlegs is an interesting Nicolas Cage horror movie that I'm looking forward to seeing. And then what else? You got Twisters and Deadpool and Wolverine. So in the month of July, you have 3 major movies that most of Hollywood is really depending on, hoping that this will save the summer box office season. Hoping. Deadpool and Wolverine for sure. I will say it now. Deadpool and Wolverine will be your billion-dollar movie of the year. It might be the only one compared to what the rest of the year is looking like. But that's July. Then you have August. Harold and the Purple Crayon looks terrible. Borderlands looks horrible. What else? Trap looks interesting. M. Night Shyamalan, I like this. But it's not going to make big numbers. Alien Romulus, I mentioned it before. I'm looking forward to it. I'll know if it's going to make big numbers. Horizon, you got chapter 2 of the Kevin Costner movie. So, who knows what's going to happen there? The Crow, oof, you had people bad-mouthing this movie even before it came out. Unbelievable. Gorilla, I was under the impression Jackman retired Wolverine. He did. And at one point, Kevin Feige even told him not to do any more Wolverine movies after Logan. But Hugh Jackman is doing this as a favor to Ryan Reynolds, because they're very good friends. What's going on, Gemma? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for saying hello. Starlord, I think it looks good this year. Good enough. I think for someone like you and I there's a lot of movies I'm reading on this list that I'm looking forward to, personally. So for me, it looks like a good year. For general audiences and for movie studios, I think this year is going to be a rough one. And August is pretty much the end of the summer movie season. September, you have some stuff upcoming, right? Like Beetlejuice, Transformers 1, right? Later on in the year, we have Joker 2, right? Gemma, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I really appreciate that. Smile 2, Venom The Last Dance, Wicked is promising to be like the big holiday movie, along with Gladiator 2 and Moana 2, the live action Moana. Kraven the Hunter, Sony is really big on. They're hoping and keeping their fingers crossed that Kraven is going to revitalize the Spider-Man franchise for them. You have the Lion King sequel, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and one of my most anticipated movies of the year, Nosferatu, coming out in December. So I think if you're a fan of movies in general, this year is going to be an interesting one. But the summer is going to be rough. It's going to be really, really rough, in my opinion. It's not going to be a good one. We're going to see probably record low numbers as far as box office is concerned. Kevin Davis. Kevin, I love Kevin because he loves chiming in with stats and his predictions. I haven't seen Kevin in a while, but here he is. I'm assuming this is his ranking of summer movies that are coming out, right? Kevin, let us know if we're correct here. But his rankings are number 1, Deadpool and Wolverine. Number 2, Inside Out 2. Number 3 is Despicable Me 4. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is in 4th. 5th is Bad Boys Ride or Die. 6th is Alien Romulus. 7 is Twisters. 8, A Quiet Place Day 1. And then according to Kevin, we have the fall box office hit films. Number 1 will be Mufasa. Number 2 will be Moana. 2 is Joker. 4 is Venom. 5 is Sonic. And 6 is Wicked Part 1. I love Kevin. He loves hitting us up with his stats and all about that stuff. Starlord, The Crow is same but different. People aren't used to the same but different. Yeah, well, people are just, they don't like change. Especially with something that's as big and famous as the original Crow and has a huge fan base. They won't give a new take a chance. Especially when there's something about it that looks off or different. I'll give it a chance. I'll see what it's about. but we'll see. Fur, what's going on, Fur? Nice seeing you back here. Hope all is well. Girl, I like Werner Herzog's definitive Nosferatu. Which one is that one, Gorilla? Can you remind me which one that is? I don't know if I've seen that one. Gemma, you don't have to apologize at all about your Wi-Fi. What about Deadpool 3? I think Deadpool 3, Deadpool and Wolverine, will be the biggest movie hit of the year. That is my prediction. That was my prediction last year. Again, if you're not familiar with the channel here, every year I predict what movie will be the big movie of the year. I called it when I said Top Gun Maverick was going to be it. I called it when I said Barbie was going to be it. This year, it's going to be Deadpool and Wolverine. Even more so than Wicked. If there was going to be a number 2, as far as like big movies of the year, Wicked has that potential. But after seeing that trailer, I don't know. I honestly don't know. And I think depending on how big Deadpool and Wolverine does, that's definitely going to help Disney and Marvel strategize what they're going to do moving forward with their franchise. Donnie Stuffs, what's going on? You love my beard? Why, thank you. I did trim it today, so I realize it. So thank you. Starlord, it's the same Eric, but different. Definitely. 1000%. It's Eric Draven, but it's a different take. It's a more, I would even dare say it's like a modernized take on it. It's just a really good Nosferatu remake done by a cinema auteur. Now, you know what? I'm going to look it up. Is that the one with Willem Dafoe? Let's see. Werner Herzog. Let's see. Which one is this one? Is this the one? Oh, okay, the 1979 Nosferatu. I've heard a lot of people say a lot of good things about this. I have not seen it yet. I should probably check this out. Yes, you're right. I was thinking of the mockumentary with Willem Dafoe. Well, it's funny, too, because I think Willem Dafoe is in the upcoming Nosferatu movie also, which is being directed by Robert Eggers, by the way, and I can't wait for that. But yes, you're right. I have not seen this one yet. I should add this to my list because I would love to check this out. But yeah, I can't wait for this one, for Nosferatu, the Robert Eggers version, because it looks good. The backstory about that is that Robert Eggers, I believe, wrote this as a stage play or something like that. And now he's making a movie version of it. So I'm sure it's going to be very interesting. And I'm a fan of Robert Eggers, so I can't wait to see what he has in store for us in that sense. Starlord, it's basically a romantic Jason Voorhees, but he can talk and he's not too freakish looking. Are you talking about The Crow? Well, the main story of The Crow in general is it's a romantic story. It really is. You know, that's why the original Crow is one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time, because in essence it is a romance story. It's a gothic romance story, I guess, in a way. You know, the lengths you have to go in order to seek revenge for, you know, the love of your life. You know, that's why that movie will always be one of my all-time favorites. Celebrating an anniversary this year too, so I need to kind of do a retrospective, a kind of revisit on that very soon. So yeah, so again, Kevin Davis, I love your ranking. Thank you so much. Out of all the movies that are coming out this summer, what are you all looking forward to? I feel like the general sense is that a lot of people can't wait for Deadpool and Wolverine, right? Yeah, anyone who was a teenager in the 90s. Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you were like, if you were goth in any way, that is like your big time movie of the time. You know, when The Crow came out, I was about, Crow came out in 94 or 95. Let's see. The Crow, 94. So this was like a year before I graduated high school. And at that time, I did hang out with a lot of goth people. Right? I wasn't goth myself. I mean, I hung out with pockets of different crowds, but they could not stop talking about this movie when that movie came out. But also, you have to think about it too. Brandon Lee was such a charismatic performer and actor that he really embodied this whole persona. And I think he did a brilliant job in this movie. The soundtrack was even more famous than the movie itself. That soundtrack was amazing. And this was during a time when movie soundtracks performed really well. And this one outperformed the majority of movie soundtracks for a while. It was so good. So it had a lot of stuff going for it. But if you didn't grow up around this time, and maybe you were to revisit The Crow now as a younger person, it may not, it may not sit well with you, or maybe you won't really get it, right? So, like I always said, is that there's always going to be a newer generation for something. My generation grew up with the original Star Wars movies. Then there's a newer generation that grew up with, The Phantom Menace, all those things. That was their first exposure to Star Wars. So there's always going to be a newer generation for that. Could this be a new generational Crow movie that's coming out? I don't know. We'll see. Gorilla, the single soundtrack was another amazing soundtrack. That was another one of my favorites back then. You had the single soundtrack. You had the Crow soundtrack. There was one other soundtrack I really, really loved that I used to have on repeat a lot. Oh man, I can't remember right now. But yeah, this was like I said, this was during a time when soundtracks were very popular. And a lot of studios would put so much focus on soundtracks for their movies. Pulp Fiction, yes! Oh, I used to play the Pulp Fiction soundtrack every day. And then when Jackie Brown came out, that was another one I had in rotation because the soundtrack to Jackie Brown was amazing. But I'm not surprised because I remember Tarantino saying at one point that when he makes movies, he thinks of the soundtrack first and then builds the movies around it, which is an interesting way of making film. Sting was a great wrestler. He totally stole that gimmick from The Crow. Oh yeah, he stole that gimmick. Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking about with that baseball bat, but yeah, he totally stole that gimmick. And then he tried to have a variation of it by doing the red instead of the black makeup, right? Which kind of looked cool. But yeah. That's a great and that Gorilla, you just brought up an interesting thing. What are some of your favorite movie soundtracks that you like to listen to? I would love to hear what everyone thinks about that. Everyone in The Matrix was The Crow, but without makeup. Yeah, the Crow made the whole trench coat thing very popular for a while. And then it died out a little bit. And then The Matrix brought it back full fold. Everyone wanted to wear trench coats after The Matrix came out. Another great soundtrack too, not so much for the singles and the hits, was but more for the score, was Gladiator. That's another soundtrack I listen to from time to time. Oh, and Interstellar. Oh, Interstellar is one of, oh, when you talk about score, oh, and movie, oh.
I'm gonna come. How about you thank them, dickless?
Cameron Crowe did give us a lot of great soundtracks. I totally agree with that. Let's pull up the list of Cameron Crowe soundtracks. We're done talking about the state of movies, so I can remove this. Let's see. Let's do a search. Cameron Crowe. Let's see. Cameron Crowe movie soundtracks. Here we go. Let's see. Almost Famous. That was a pretty good soundtrack there. Wait a minute. That's right. He did direct Say Anything. I totally forgot about that. Say Anything had a brilliant soundtrack. Of course, everyone just remembers the main song. In Your Eyes. Yeah, In Your Eyes. In Your Eyes. I have my little boombox here. Oh, come back to me. Love that movie. Cinema Paradiso. That's another great soundtrack. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot he also directed Elizabethtown. If I remember correctly, that soundtrack was pretty decent too. Oh, yeah, when you talk about scores, the Miyazaki films, there's so many brilliant scores from all those movies. So many. So many. Name one of those films and the score and soundtrack for that is breathtaking. Starlord saying Batman has the Crow, but they are separated as Batman and the Joker. What? I don't even know what that means. You're talking about Scarecrow? Oh my god, that's too funny. All right. So there is one. There's several other things I would love to talk about right now. And this will be a great conversation for everyone here who may be interested to share their thoughts and opinions. I know Starlord has been waiting for me to talk about this. Let's talk about some of the recent trailers that came out. And I know the one in question that he would love to hear my thoughts on is the Beetlejuice trailer, right? Now, I'm not going to react to it here because, again, very easy for Warner Brothers to copyright strike me. So, what is this? Hold on.
Here's a
Yes, okay. So I watched this. Now, I think for a lot of people, this trailer debuted in front of Furiosa. When I went to see Furiosa in the theaters, believe it or not, they didn't show any trailers. Like after the typical 20-minute 20 minutes worth of advertising and Maria Menounos laughing in your ear. It just kicked right into the movie, which I actually kind of appreciated. I was just like, let's go. Let's kick it into gear, right? So I didn't get a chance to watch this trailer until I got home later that day. And I'm not going to play it, but what I'll do is I'll skim through it while I talk about my feelings on this trailer here. So, of course, first it starts off with Winona Ryder introducing the trailer, right, as Lydia Dietz. And I think for the most part, she looks okay. Definitely a little older, right? But it's nice to see the character again, right? And then we go into the typical Deo, which is something that we already saw in the teaser trailer, right? We get a nice little glimpse of the town. Nothing new. We get the funeral of the father, which again, a perfect way to kind of phase him out because we shall not talk about that actor. Again, if you don't know, look it up. And then you could tell by the conversation that Lydia is having with her daughter Astrid that Astrid is going through the typical teenager phase where she's like, life is hard. Lydia's like, death is hard, but she's like, life is hard. Right? And whenever there's a conversation like that, just like how we saw in the original movie, that kind of sparks Beetlejuice's interest, right? And, Lydia tells her little story and her history with this character that she encountered when she was younger. And how, this guy showed up, was very tempting. He was like a trickster demon that terrorized the family, wanted to marry her, and all that stuff. And, it all started with this pamphlet, and Astrid comes across something similar. And of course, it sparks her interest. She gets very curious about it, right? And, she says the name, and Lydia's like, don't you say that name, don't do it. And of course, angsty teenager is just like, I'm going to say it anyway. Right? And of course, we get the reappearance of Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice and all that. And I'll say he looks fantastic. I thought he looked great in the teaser trailer that we got. I think he looks great in this new trailer that we got. It looks like he has the same kind of comedic timings and all. But I have a concern. I do have a concern. And my concern here is that they might fall into that trap that a lot of these movies do when they bring back a popular franchise. And they rely too much on regurgitating the same things that made us laugh in the first one. Now, yes, I know this is just a trailer. The movie itself can be very different. But I saw so many callbacks to the original movie that I felt as if, in a way, they're kind of using that as a crutch for this trailer here. It's like, oh, let's remind everybody why the first movie was so funny, right? He does the thing with the face, We saw that happen in this trailer. The whole thing is like, oh, if you think this guy, oh, what about this? Get that same moment. Now, yeah, it looks like we're getting a little bit more of the underworld. We get a little train station, people are boarding. And it sounds like to me, the concept here is that they're going to try to find a way to merge the land of the dead with the land of the living. They're going to try to merge and see if they could live in harmony. And I'm sure there are going to be people who are going to be opposed to that. And there are going to be people that will be like, hell yeah, let's do that. And this is going to be Beetlejuice's way to get himself back into real life and maybe finally have a chance to be with Lydia or something along those lines. But then we see scenes of the mom visiting the afterlife, right? And we get introduced to Monica Bellucci. And I caught this right away. And I was like, oh no. Oh no. So this is like a deep, deep Easter egg take. If you remember, if you go back and you watch the first movie, and Beetlejuice is trying to marry Lydia, and they have this ceremony, and it's basically like, oh, do you have the ring? And he pulls out this ring with like a finger, and Lydia's like, oh my gosh, and he's like, don't worry, she didn't mean nothing to me, right? Guess whose finger that belongs to? And how do we know that? During the roll call at the end, when they're doing the roll call of, oh, these are the people in the movie, they make it a point so that when Monica Bellusci's name pops up, I'm gonna wait for that moment here. And of course we have the little, again, a nice little throwback and callback to the sand place and the sandworm, which is pretty cool. I like that. I love that they're still using the stop motion for it. Right? So, hold on. Let's see. Gorilla, thank you so much for subscribing. And thank you so much for joining in on the chat. Love to have you here. Great conversations. Absolutely. And would love to see you in the next one. So have a wonderful rest of your day. Would be awesome. I hope it would be awesome. But thank you so much. But yeah, boom, right there. Guess who's missing a finger? It's Monica Bellucci. Guess who's missing a finger? It's Monica Bellucci. So it's another one of those things where they love to tie things back to the original movie, right? And for the casual watcher and the casual fan of Beetlejuice, they probably never even thought about this. But when I saw this, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Pump the brakes. Are we going this route? And it looks like we are. Yeah. Now we have Jenna Ortega. I think Willem Dafoe looks fantastic. I am so curious as to who his character is going to be. But anytime Willem Dafoe is in a movie, I get excited, right? So what I'm gathering here too is that I don't know who Justin Theroux's character is going to be. But yes, we have the zipping of the mouth, like Starlord brought up. A similar thing that Beetlejuice loves to do. But it's something that he's already done before, right? First of all, I love his face here. If anything, I'm excited to see this movie just to see Michael Keaton portray Beetlejuice again. I'm very much excited for that. I mean, just look how good he looks, right? And he's going to give 1,000% performance in this. And that's all I could ever ask for, But like I said, my fear is that we're seeing, at least in this trailer alone, we're just seeing a little bit too much of what we're used to from the first movie. And not enough from the first movie. What happened to Gina Davis or Alec Baldwin's character? Right? Are we going to see them? Because aren't they supposed to be tied to that house and can never leave that house? So are we going to see a version of them that's not Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin? Or are we going to see them in their alternate scary personas, right? I don't know. But that's something that I would love to hear explained. But you have people that are in the living visiting the land of the dead and vice versa. You have Beetlejuice that just really wants to escape the land of the dead and be in the land of the living. And then, of course, now you have Monica Bellucci who's looking for him, probably still burned about him leaving the altar and leaving her high and dry, right? So, although I am excited and I'm looking forward to all of this, oh, look at his face here, right here. His face is so brilliant in this. I am concerned. I am concerned. Star-Lord, no, it's Tim Burton's signature. Think about it. If they say Beetlejuice 3 times again, they can get rid of him. It's not a callback. It's his reflex reaction. Zipping their mouths is his defense. And I'm okay with that. I mean, that's like a typical Beetlejuice move, right? My concern is just we are rehashing a lot of the same jokes from the previous movie. You know, we're bringing back some things, and it could work out. Maybe it won't. I don't know. And when it comes to Tim Burton movies in general, a lot of his more recent movies haven't been fantastic. Now, Wednesday, I thought was a great series, a lot of fun, very entertaining. But Tim Burton was mostly a producer in that. He directed, I think, the first 2 episodes, and then that's it. Other people directed the rest of the season. I don't know which Tim Burton we're getting in this one. Are we going to get the Tim Burton that we love to see? Or are we going to get the Tim Burton that kind of just, you know, for lack of a better way to say it, shits stuff out? You know, like the Johnny Depp years when he kept shitting stuff, you know, shitting stuff out. That was just like, what are we doing here? Or that movie like Big Eyes, right? So I think my excitement level, which was extremely excited, turned into I'm cautiously optimistic about this movie. And if you're not like that, if you're like super excited, like Star-Lord, I think you are super excited about this, then I'm happy. I'm great. That's great. And I really hope it's going to do well. But I think for me, I don't know. Star-Lord plot holes are not a problem. They read the handbook and reached the page that taught them how to cross over. Okay, that's fair. I mean, again, we did see that happen, right? At one point, in a different way, in a different sense. That book is big. And I'm sure Lydia studied that book from beginning to front. I mean, from beginning to front to end. You know? So, I'm sure the more we see the movie, the more things will be explained. And that's when, you know, obviously final judgments will be made. But I think it's, you know, it's okay to say, at least for me, I'm open enough to say that I am very cautious now, because there's just something about me that's just like, whoa, wait a minute. And it's just a trailer. You know, it's just a trailer. And the idea of a trailer is to attract people and get people interested and excited to go watch this movie. So if it means rehashing the same jokes or highlighting that, I get it. Because I know there's going to be a lot of people who probably watch this trailer, because this trailer now has, on YouTube, 12 million views in the 4 days that it's been out. 12 million. I'm sure there's a lot of people who saw this and said, oh, he's doing the mouth thing. Oh, look, he did the thing with the face. Oh my God, I can't wait. It's so great. And if that was your reaction, that's awesome. I'm happy for you. Really, really, honestly, I am. But it's me that has been burned by that same stuff before in the past. So I'm now just very cautious about it overall. But look at him. How can you deny this? I already said his face is fantastic. This right here, this is a face that I might use for a potential thumbnail when I review the movie. I love this face. You know, the face that I had on here before, that face is brilliant. I love it. Truly, truly love it. And I would be happy if at the very least we just get a kick-ass performance from Michael Keaton. If we can get that, I think that's all anyone can really ask for at the end of the day. You know? So those are just my thoughts on the trailer that came out. Yeah, my quick thoughts on it. And then we had Beverly Hills Cop, Axel Foley. Right? And hold on. Let's go to a nice image here. Something that really shows Axwell. Oh, Axwell. Axwell Foley. All right. Very much like Bad Boys. This is kind of hard to see because the Beverly Hills Cop franchise came out during a time when oh my God, what the hell's wrong with me? Eddie Murphy. I think you literally just saw me had a brain aneurysm on the stream. I literally just had a brain aneurysm. I'm sorry. I apologize. So when these movies came out, Eddie Murphy was really was approaching the peak of his popularity in the 80s. He was very young. He was doing a lot of things outside of SNL and outside of his stand-up. And the Beverly Hills Cop movies was brilliant in that it married the comedic stylings and timing of Eddie Murphy and combined that with like an action cop movie. Buddy cop movie, however you want to call it. Plus, you gave him two people that he worked really well with. You know, Judge Reinhold, and I forget the other guy that plays the other guy, Taggart. You know, great chemistry with all three of those guys. You had Paul Reiser in there as one of his bosses or former bosses, who also appears in this movie. You had great like one-off characters that would pop up from time to time. And the first two movies were really well done. The third movie is what fell off the rails and was too corporate. They even had a play on corporate consumerism because wasn't it like all in Disney? Like the underground tunnels of like a Disney-like amusement park. So I think they were being a very meta with that movie at a time when being meta wasn't a thing. And it just felt very like poorly done. They said Beverly Hills Cop 3 is in 1994 in the trailer, but I think it's 95. Well, let's look it up. Let's look it up. Beverly Hills Cop 3. Beverly Hills Cop 3 came out in 1994, according to Wikipedia. Directed by John Landis. Yeah, it was released May 25, 1994. It grossed $42.6 million, $119.2 million overall worldwide. So, there you go. So with this, what I'm trying to say here is that Eddie Murphy obviously is older. It's very hard for me to believe that he could get himself in these type of action situations, right? Very much like how it's very hard for me to understand that Will Smith, maybe not so much, but guys, who's the other one? Who's the other actor? I need to get some sleep. Because I'm losing my freaking mind right now. What's wrong with me? Am I deprived of coffee? Is that what's going on? Who the hell is the other guy in Bad Boys? Martin Lawrence. Holy shit. I'm sorry. Like, it's hard for me to see Martin Lawrence do anything action related because he's just so old. Starlord, how long did it stay in theaters? What, Beverly Hills Cop 3? I would assume not that long. If it came out in May of 94, around 94, oh. Let's look at the numbers. Let's check it out, shall we? Beverly Hills Cop 3. All right. Beverly Hills Cop. Blah, 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 blah. Box office. All right. So it looks like to me it lasted till June of that year. Came out May 27th, and then these are the weekends afterwards. And then at that point, it was just making 1.7 million at the box office, and it keeps dropping. So then the weekend afterwards, it looks to me like that's when they axed it. They axed Axel Foley. I just had the wrong sources. No worries, man. Look at me. I mean, I'm not 100%. I couldn't even remember Martin Lawrence's name. Go figure. But yeah, it's just hard for me to believe that someone like the age of Eddie Murphy can get into those type of similar situations. And it looks like he's going to find himself in a lot of similar situations here. He's flying a helicopter. He's going through a car chase scene. He's trying to run people down, all that. It looks like he has a daughter that's now in the mix that, from what I'm taking or what I'm gathering here, the daughter could be potentially in trouble, but also you have Judge Reinhold character who's in trouble. So Axel is trying to get Taggart to help him out, even though Taggart is retired. Judge Reinhold's character, I don't know what happened to him. It looks like he's been having better days. But Bronson Pinchot's character is back also, and he gets help from him. So it's definitely another one of those situations where, let's bring back a lot of the people that we're familiar with from the past movies that we loved, and let's have these guys have kind of like a reunion and all that, which is fine. The fact also, this is a Netflix movie, so I'm not really expecting a lot of stuff from a Netflix movie these days. What I will say is that the previous movies that Eddie Murphy has done with Netflix, I thought were kind of well done. Like the movie he did about Dolomite, I thought was really good. Really, really good. Now, the movie that he didn't do with Netflix that was done with Amazon, Coming to America 2, woof. That was a hot mess. So, I wasn't sure what to expect with Axel Foley. We got this trailer, and I will say for the most part, it may be entertaining and it may be fun. But who knows? Will I watch it? Of course I'm going to watch it. Will it disappoint me? Has potential to. But any other movie can do so. Hey, if Harrison Ford can do it, old age don't mean anything. Harrison Ford is a whole different type of person, though. Like Harrison Ford, I can believe can still do that stuff. When he was in those Clear and Present Danger movies, when he was the president on Air Force One, I believed, oh yeah, this dude can get dirty. For sure, 1000%. Even when he came back as Han Solo in The Force Awakens, he's just this type of person. I was like, you know what? This guy can still get it done. Eddie Murphy? I don't know. I don't know. But that's just me. Honestly, that's just me. But regardless, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with these movies, how these movies are going to perform, and at the end of the day, just how entertaining these movies are really going to be. You know, but it's always interesting. And the one thing I've said before that I'll say again now is that there is an art in putting movie trailers together. Star-Lord, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I know also because I do a lot of editing too, is that you can edit something to look so fun and so entertaining, even though the movie may not be. You splice in some good music in there, some great graphics or transitions, and the trailer can make the movie feel as if it's going to be one of the most epic things you'll ever watch that year. It may not always be true, but it could be. And that's the whole point of trailers. That's why they pay people for that. That's why they have production studios whose main job is putting movie trailers together. It's an art form. It really is an art form. In a way, it's a form of storytelling and filmmaking on its own. So, but I will say, even though like there were some things that was really exciting to see in the Axel Foley trailer, the overall sense that I got was not like, oh man, it was just like, all right, could be good. So we'll see. We'll see what happens when the movie comes out. Not that long from now. Just, I believe, what, in a couple of weeks or so? So. Star-Lord, so I know you enjoyed the Beetlejuice trailer. Did you see the Axel Foley trailer, and what did you think about it? Sorry, guys, hold on. I'm just checking some things. Sorry, guys, give me 1 second. Just checking on some notifications on my phone. Star-Lord hype is my thing. Looks good, obviously. Love the trailer and the soundtrack. Yeah, if anything, it did a good job at bringing back that nostalgic feel to like the classic Beverly Hills movies. The minute you hear that, I mean, I get, in a way, I get goosebumps because I'm just like, oh, I remember that time. I remember that movie. Because Beverly Hills Cop, the first movie, I actually saw in the movie theater, even though I probably was not supposed to because I was very young for an R-rated movie. I believe it was either my dad took me or one of the family friends that used to babysit me took me to see it, to check it out. And even though I may have been way too young to understand a lot of what was going on, I remember enjoying it. Because I was, even at that time, I was exposed to SNL. So, of course, I knew who Eddie Murphy was because he was on SNL at the time. But I remember enjoying it, And then when Beverly Hills Cop 2 came out, that was also a lot of fun and exciting. So yeah, every time I hear that the soundtrack, when I saw Bronson Pinchot pop up, I was like, oh my god, this guy, Serge. Oh, awesome. It's great to see, but at the same time, it shows how old we are because everyone does look older. The guy who plays Taggart, for his age, he looks pretty good, man. Judge Reinhold looks still pretty good. So it's nice seeing stuff like that. At the end of the day, I guess the the most I can ask for is I just want to be entertained. He still got it. This is our generation. Yep, definitely is. But that's the thing too. It's like, even though it's our generation, things that have been brought back from our generation it's been 50-50 for the most part. You know? And then sometimes at the end of the day, I think things should just be left alone. You know? There's always that constant question we ask, do we really need another Beverly Hills Cop movie? You know, did we really need a follow-up to Coming to America? No. But if it could be done right, why not? If you have a story to tell, why not? Forget about all the new Hollywood action stars. Well, it's funny too, because there isn't, even though there are a lot of stars that do good in action, the caliber of action stars we have today is very different from the caliber of action stars we had in the 80s and 90s. You know? Very different. Obviously, these days we have The Rock, Jason Momoa. Those are like some of the main action stars we have today. Chris Hemsworth's okay, but he won't sell tickets, obviously, as we saw with Furiosa. The Rock will always sell tickets. Momoa will always sell tickets, especially internationally. But Chris, nope. Just proved it. Tom Cruise would. You know, but Tom Cruise also comes from this generation too, and he's still doing it, which is crazy. But back then we had, you know, Schwarzenegger, Stallone. And the interesting thing about Eddie Murphy is that he was like the most unlikely action star at the time, because he's a comedian. He did Beverly Hills Cop. He did another 48 Hours. You know, he had range in that aspect, and it worked, which is crazy because no one would have ever thought it would be like that. But yeah. Oh, all right, y'all. I think I have hit a wall for now. Obviously, there's still stuff I wasn't able to talk about. Like, I really wanted to talk about a recap of Cannes, the winners from Cannes. From Cannes! Daddy, the Cannes! But maybe I'll save that for Friday. Star-Lord, I'm not worthy? What do you mean? What do you mean by that? But it is 3 p.m. here on the East Coast. It's raining now. Oh, what a wonderful holiday, huh? But I think I'm going to call it. I hope all of you enjoy the rest of your day, evening, afternoon. If you are here in the United States, I hope you enjoy your holiday with whatever it is that you do. And I will catch you all. I will be back streaming. I'm not going to do Wednesday this week. I'm going to do Friday. So I will be back here streaming on Friday. And during the week, I'm actually going to be working on some other videos that I'm going to hope to post on the channel this week. So stay tuned for that if you're interested. Got some interesting stuff in the works that I hope I can finish up soon for everybody. So yeah. So with all that being said, have a wonderful day. What song should I close things out on? Here, let's use this one. I like this from the last time I did it. All right, y'all. Mithun Manu, hi. I'm leaving. But hi, thank you for chiming in. But everyone else, enjoy the rest of your day. I will catch you all next time. Stay cool, stay classy, stay safe. Catch you all in the next one. All right, peace out, y'all. Bye-bye.